Creativity to me is one of the necessary components to a balanced life. As a child, I had something to say, and I really didn't know how to say it because speaking my mind at home wasn't actually allowed. So I basically would have my head in the clouds a lot of the times and just be daydreaming. And when my head wasn't in the clouds, literally, I would be studying leaves or trees or going into the woods and just feeling the texture of the trees. It was an escape, but it was almost like I had put out the desire to tap into my creativity, to make me feel more alive, and to I was trying to figure out who am I, and to find a way to express myself. And I found that when I was in nature, I would kind of lose myself in a sense and enter a whole nother world. It was fascinating to look at a leaf and see the veins in it, and every time I would discover something new in nature, it would open up a whole new window. It would open up a whole new world to me of discovery. And at that point, I wasn't putting anything on paper. I didn't have a camera. I wasn't painting, but it was filling my head and my heart with all kinds of possibilities. I spent a lot of time in art galleries, and especially the Walters Art Gallery in Baltimore. I would go to the Baltimore Museum of Art and study different artists. Initially, I didn't think that it didn't occur to me that I was studying their work. I was just losing myself in their work. I was just looking at their images and trying to be in the scene that they created. I actually felt like I was walking into this artist's painting, and it tapped into something in me and made me feel alive in a way that I had never felt before. It became actually my source of inspiration when I started doing photography and I would start feeling blocked. I would go to the museum, and after maybe 10-15 minutes, all of the anxiety that I had when I walked in would just start to dissipate, and what I felt like I was in my element. I find now that I am retired and I can spend all of my time, or as much time as I want, working on my art. I have a balance to my life that I didn't have before. Even when I was working a 9-to-5 job, I found ways to do my photography by taking walks, taking breaks, and taking my camera and going out and just doing street photography during the day. Sometimes skipping lunches, because that fed me more than, having a sandwich at lunch. It was something that I absolutely had to do, and I feel like creating is as important and necessary to me as eating, as water, as breathing. When I'm actually shooting, I'm not thinking necessarily painting. I'm looking at light, I'm looking at images moving. It's just more of a discovery for me when I'm shooting. When I actually sit down to edit, I feel like I'm painting. I feel like I'm creating a painting, and that gives me great joy. So it's almost like I'm doing a craft. When I'm shooting it, I'm working at my craft photography, but when I'm editing, I feel like I'm a painter. I feel like I do a lot of work with my finger when I'm editing, and when I'm working with colors and I'm intensifying them or pulling back on the color or highlighting or bringing up a shadow, bringing up images that are in the shadow that I want to bring out of the shadow. I feel like it's a combination of working on in the dark room on paper, working the image with, when I used to do darkroom work and I would use my hands and the warmth of my hands to bring an image up. I feel like it's a combination of that and using my finger as a brush to stroke certain areas of the photograph to enhance colors and shading, and maybe work with people's, the texture of their clothing. So I'm looking at every aspect of the image that I'm working on. I love shooting. I love being out. I love shooting people. That part of it it's one aspect of it. The editing gives me the greatest joy because it's always a surprise. It's almost reminds me of when I did darkroom work, and when the image would come up on paper, it would always be a surprise. So each image becomes a project in itself. And I can work on, say I work on one image that on a particular day, and once I have it exactly the way I want it, I'm elated. I don't know that there's any one thing that I would say, inspires me more than another. I can look at a piece of fabric, I can look at a textile, and ideas start flowing. I may take that piece of fabric or canvas and use it as a background and make a collage of things on that particular item. I'm shooting wherever I am. If I'm out shopping, that's just secondary to me. If it's something I have to do. If I want to go out and buy a blouse or a sweater, it's a necessity. It might be something that I need, but I'm always looking. I'm never not looking for things to shoot because things catch my eye constantly. Everything is framed when I'm looking at something. It's like looking at through a window. If I'm in the grocery store, I spend most of my time in the produce department. I wonder sometimes if the cameras are on me. I know if they are, that they're probably in the back office wondering what in the world this woman is doing, shooting every time she comes in, she's shooting the tomatoes and the radishes. And there's so much texture in vegetables. Vegetables are art. And they have everything. They have color, they have texture, they have form, and you can eat them, which is, when I'm finished shooting, I'm eating it. I'm eating my work. When I'm in my car and I'm at a stoplight, I'm watching. I'm watching what goes in front of my windshield. I want to see color. I want to see a skirt blowing in the wind. I love if it's raining, I want to see a colorful umbrella. I'm not interested in the cars. I would like it if there weren't any cars. Spending time alone. I may be in the city with other people, but spending time not not having a companion with me, just being alone is a way to find your creativity too, I think. Being alone with yourself so you really can experience what's going on around you. And sometimes that'll just trigger something in you that you'll want to recapture or capture whatever it is you've experienced in some way. And I would say take classes. You know, if you're a tactile person, take a pottery class. Work with your hands. Do something where you can work with your hands. If you're a visual person, pick up a camera or take your phone and start taking pictures. If you have all these thoughts in your head or stories that you compose in your head, start writing them down. Journal. If you've had an experience that you think is particularly interesting for some reason, maybe it was fun, maybe it was just intriguing, write it down. You never know what's going to come from that. Maybe you're born to be a writer. There's so many different ways that you can express yourself. And just, I would also say, put it out there. Put it out there to the universe that you have something that you want to offer, that you have something that you want to give, that you have something that you want to express because you see life in your own particular way.